Hello. Welcome to this new video. This time we're going to demonstrate a man-in-the-middle attack to compromise Office 365 credentials by using Evilginx. So I'm not going to be showing you how to configure and set up Evilginx. In this case, it's already configured and set up. And I'm doing this in my own testing environment, in my own testing network, meaning I'm not using the same environment that attackers use, where they publish a server and they configure public DNS records to point to the URL that they created. I'm not doing any of that. All my configuration is within my internal network, but obviously I'm going to be accessing Office 365 on the web. So if you can see this archaic network diagram, I have these three computers, I'm going to say, in the same local network that I have. And then this is going to be my target computer. This is going to be another computer, a testing computer. And this is the computer where I have Evilginx. But the goal is that I'm going to be able to compromise a session between the target computer and the Office 365 web application. And the way that we're going to be doing that now, there's going to be no direct connection. What we're going to do, we're going to set up a man-in-the-middle attack where the attacker is going to send a link. It's going to use social engineering. And if you have an email address, I know that you've received these emails constantly because I get them all the time. Your Office 365 password is expiring. Please, click here to change it, or things of that nature. That's the imagination of the attackers trying to come up with a social engineering technique that is going to work. But their goal is to have the user click on that link that is going to take them to the Office 365 portal while they sit in the middle capturing all that information. That is the goal. How the attacker is going to get that information to the user, I leave that up to you. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to create a URL and I'm just going to copy it and paste it and access it from one place to the other, because that is the purpose of the video. Is not so much to talk about social engineering. Now, once the attacker sits in the middle, whatever communication that takes place between the target computer and the web application is going to be captured by the attacker, which means the attacker is going to capture the username, the attacker is going to capture the password. But most importantly, who cares about a username and password when you have MFA? Because what's going to happen is once the attacker provides the username and password, the Office 365 application, if they have MFA enabled, which I believe is enabled or is enforced now by default, once the web application sends the target the challenge for the multi-factor authentication, they're going to provide that information as well. They're going to send the information to the man in the middle. The man in the middle is going to forward that information to the web application. And then once the web application sees that everything matches, it's going to give the okay for that session to be established, and it's going to establish the session. And that's what the attacker is going to steal. It's going to steal that session, the session cookies, because once the attacker has that session cookie, the attacker can use that session cookie to access the same service from anywhere in the world, if there are no restrictions, of course, and they're going to be able to have the same type of access. Now, did it sound confusing to you? I hope it didn't, but if it did, let's go over this so it makes sense. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to start Evilginx in developer mode because I am running this in my local network and I don't have a certificate that I'm going to be able to use on the target computer, or a valid certificate, I should say, that I'm going to use on the target computer. So in that case, I'm going to use developer mode because it's going to have a certificate that it's going to use, but I'm still going to get the warning, or you're going to see that. And again, this is for demonstration purposes in a test environment, so I don't care about the warnings that I'm going to be getting. So I'm going to hit enter right in here. So I can start the application. And here we are. Now, let me just show you a couple of things that I have already done. As I mentioned to you, I already configured um, Evilginx. If you want to watch a video on that, just let me know and I'll create one. But it's already configured. For my lab, I had to configure Evilginx and I had to configure DNS or properly configure DNS internally for this to work. Uh, but anyway, let me know. So I already have the fishlets. I have Binance, I have Facebook, Netflix, O365, PayPal, and Vanguard. And in this case, we're going to be using O365 because that is one of the most compromised environments that I see out there. It's crazy how many emails or phishing emails I get in a week of potential compromises. So as you could see, I have that enabled. Again, I'm not going to go through the configuration, but something that I'm going to do here, I'm going to turn blacklist off because I've been practicing on this, and at one point Evilginx is going to block the capture of the session if it sees that it's coming from the same IP address um, to the same fishlet. So I'm going to do this. And now that that's done, I'm going to show you that I have some lures in here. I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to create lures, create O365 because that is the fish list that I'm working with. And I created that with ID number 4. So if I do lures one more time, you're going to see a new one with ID number 4. And I'm gonna create the URL. So lures create get URL, not create URL, get URL. If I can type, and I have to specify which lure I want to create the URL for. That's gonna be number 4. And this is the URL right here. This is what the attacker is gonna send to the victim in a way that is going to trick the victim into clicking into it. Again, we're not going to be talking about how to do that. That's social engineering. And I don't want to spend the time on it. So let me come in here. I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to put it in my document. And I'm gonna just click on it from the victim computer. So there it is. Something to keep in mind, and this is something that I created before. This is the zone that I created before, my secure portal.com, and this is the host that is being triggered by the fishlets. And I guess that I can create a video for that now. I believe that it makes sense to create a video about the configuration of Evilginx in the local network. I'm not going to create a video of how to do that in the public network. I mean, there are many videos out there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to access this link from my victim computer. So let me bring one of those VMs to the screen. So this is my victim computer. And as you could see, I'm going to access this URL. So let me copy it and I'm going to paste it in here. And notice that I am getting a certificate error. Again, this is in a test environment where I have a self-signed certificate from Evilginx. In a real world environment, when attackers are using this, they have the connection using a valid certificate, so victims will never get this message. So use your imagination here and pretend that this didn't happen. So I'm just gonna click on proceed. And as you could see, everything is getting captured by here by Evilginx. So let me continue this until the certificate warnings go away. And now I'm going to be presented with the Office 365 login box, right? And in this case, what the user is going to do, they're going to provide their username and password. So in that case, I'm going to do This is one of my test domains, and this is one of my test accounts that I have for testing purposes, of course. And I'm going to do account this, I'm going to do no, I'm going to be talking about that later. And I'm going to provide the password to this account. So I believe what I have is a secure password when it comes to the length of the password. Maybe not the security of the password, but again, this is for testing purposes. And I'm going to sign in. And now I'm going to get the push notification for the MFA. So I have that in my phone uh, right here. And I'm going to type in the code 74. Yes. Do you want to stay signed in? Most people say yes to it. And now I am successfully signed in to to Office 365, and that information has been captured by Evilginx. Okay, so I am successfully logged in, and as you could see, all that information was captured by Evilginx. Even the username and password was captured by the man-in-the-middle attack. Now, to the user, this is not going to be anything suspicious because they are really logging in to the Office 365 portal. Where did my, oh, right here. So to the user, this is not going to be anything alarming because they are in reality logging into the Office 365 portal, providing the right credentials. So one might think that because they have multi-factor authentication, the connection is unbreakable, and that cannot be farther from the truth. As you could see, we captured all that information. But the big question is, what do we do with this information, and what can an attacker do with this information? Well, as I mentioned before, we have captured the sessions, right? So session captured today right here. 455, 455. So I'm going to do session 13. Sessions 13. And this is my session cookie. Now, what I need to do now, I need to use this session cookie in another computer or another web browser so that I can have the same type of access that the user had when they logged into that computer. So what's going to happen is that the attacker is going to have this, and they're going to be able to see what victim was successfully logged in and what session was captured. And they're going to have maybe another computer, or even perhaps the same computer, but I'm sure a different window, where they're going to be able to use that session to log into Office 365. And you have to remember something: depending on the security settings that are configured on the attacker's Office 365 portal. Uh, this may be that the attacker goes unnoticed, or it may be that this is going to generate an alert that is going to be sent, hopefully, to somebody who's going to take a look at it and take action on that. So it varies. I've seen some of these attacks that have been successful for some time because the victims, when I'm saying the victim, I'm talking about the security configurations on the Office 365 tenant. That's what I'm referring to. They didn't have the proper security controls in place, and it went unnoticed for weeks. Or I've seen where they have the proper security configuration, and this attack is not successful. So with that being said, let's just assume that there's no security settings other than the username and password and MFA. So this is what is called right here. This is a session cookie. So what we're going to do, we're going to get that cookie and we're going to paste it into another browser, and we're going to access the portal, and that should give us access to the same Office 365 session that the target user had originally. Now, this by itself is not going to do anything for us, right? Because even though it says right here, by the way, I highly recommend that you use this add-on that they are talking about right here. This is the one that has worked for me, Storage Ace. but you could use any other um, cookie editors that you feel comfortable with or that you like. In my case, I'm going to be using Storage Ace for that, but probably in the past you could copy and paste this format in here. Probably it worked in the past, it doesn't work anymore. I tried it multiple times, and what you need to do, you need to extract this the JSON format out of these cookies, right? So I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna copy and I'm going to extract the JSON format that I'm gonna need to use when I import the cookies into the cookie editor. So I'm gonna copy this, right? And then I'm gonna use my JSON extractor, if I can say that, right? So let me do that. Then I'm gonna bring it over here. Okay, so I have extracted the JSON formats that I need to be imported into the add-ons that I'm gonna be using to import the session cookies. And to be honest with you, I am not a rocket scientist. I just went to Perplexity and I had Perplexity do that for me. But I know there's a Python script that you can run for that. If you can create it, kudos to you. So I have the session. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring the other computer that I have, and I'm gonna bring it over. But before I do, let me bring that information over. So I'm opening my drive so I get the session cookies. Okay. So here I have the information. These are the JSONs that were extracted from these session cookies, and I have two JSON formats in here. So what I'm gonna do now, let me open up a new browser. In this case, I am using Chrome. And as you could see, I have a couple of extensions that can be used for this. In this case, I'm using Storage Ace. I found it that is super simple to use, especially when it comes to it. But you could use any other extensions that you might want to use, whatever extension you feel comfortable with. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to https portal dot not the Microsoft portal.office.com, because this is the site where we want to authenticate to, right? So as you could see, I have no authentication right now. So I'm gonna open up the Storage Ace and I am going to import the cookies that I created in the JSON format. So let me do this. Let me start from here. I'm gonna copy it. This is where it ends. Make sure you copy from the beginning to the end. So I'm gonna do copy. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna import the cookies. So import, and then I'm gonna do the other cookie or the other JSON for the other cookie. Okay, this is what it ends. So I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna come here one more time. I'm gonna import the JSON format and I'm gonna paste it. Now that I have that information, I'm gonna refresh my page. And as you could see, I have successfully authenticated on this remote computer with the same session cookie that I was able to obtain from my target computer. And then this is how attackers do it. Now, for the attackers, the attackers are going to go hunting. They're going to open up like Outlook. They're going to see where they have access. If they're using Office 365 with federated access, they're going to be able to see how far they can go and sadly compromise information and then ask for ransom. Sadly, that's how it works. Now, as you could see, this attack was a very simple attack to conduct. The main challenges right here are this: how the attacker gets that fake URL to the victim and how the attacker is going to be able to trick the user into clicking into it. That is by using social engineering. Social engineering still works in this day and age. The other thing that I want to mention is that this attack was successful because, in this case, in my test network, I do not have any security configuration that could prevent this type of attacks. And there are many different configurations that you can have in place. You can have in place something like impossible geographical access, I believe that's what it's called, where if you are in this city with a session and then that session pops up again like 5,000 miles away, like something is suspicious, so that can raise an alert. And depending on the configuration that you have in your system, that could block that connection. The other is where we prevent token theft, right? There's a setting in Microsoft that allows you to enable that configuration where if this happens, that session is tied to a specific computer that initiated that session. If that session shows up somewhere else, you're not going to be able to log in, or that session is going to be denied. And you need some type of phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. As you could see, the regular push notifications or typing in the code, it's not going to cut it for you. Attackers are going to be able to be successful here. So you need something like I'm reading in here. You need physical security keys. I personally have never used them. I believe that in one job I used them back in the days with RSA, but I haven't seen some of the YubiKeys, the Google Titan keys. Or, and this is something that most people can implement right away, is by enabling, in this case, on personal computers, you can enable Windows Hello, where the session is going to be tied to the hardware where it's initiated from. That is simple when you have a handful of computers or when you are a small organization, maybe 5 10 computers. You can do Windows Hello, but if you're an organization with hundreds or maybe thousands of computers, you need to do a lot of planning on that, right? And that may not be the best solution for you. So you may be looking for something else, probably a commercial solution that is going to be able to protect the applications against a security portal. So there are many different ways that you could do. So if you found this information useful, all I ask you to do is to leave a nice comment in the comment section. It's not going to cost you anything, and that helps with the algorithm. Also, click on the like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you feel that you may want to see a video of how to configure, in this case, Evilginx in a local network, I'm not going to create a video configuring Evilginx in a public network, how attackers do it. I mean, you could look for that video, it's everywhere. And I don't see the point. If you know how to do it locally, you could do it anywhere, anytime. But I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. But if you want to do this and practice, and the only thing that is happening here is because I don't have the valid certificate, I'm getting that error message. But if you got a few bucks to spare, you can buy a certificate, right? And then install it on your system, and then you're golden, and register that name. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you on the next video.